Bhagwan always distributed and gave prasadam on special occasions and days. So today is no different. On this special day today, with the grace of our Lord, we have been gifted with the prasadam of having Sri V.SRINIVAS IAS for this inaugural ceremony to deliver the inaugural address. Sri V.SRINIVAS is the Additional Secretary to the Government of India, Ministry of Personnel, PG and Pensions, and Director General, National Centre for Good Governance, Government of India, New Delhi. Sri V.SRINIVAS is an engineering postgraduate with 32 years of administrative experience in IAS for the Government of India, IME, Director General, Chair in Apex Scale, and has held various positions in the Government of Rajasthan as Chairman and Secretary. Srinivas Sir was the Deputy Director, Administration for AIMS, Joint Secretary to the Government of India, Ministry of Textiles and Ministry of Culture. He has also served as an advisor to the Executive Director, IMF, Washington, D.C., USA. Sri Srinivas was also the Private Secretary to the Finance Minister and External Affairs Minister, Government of India. Some of Srinivas Sir's publications include India's relation with the International Monetary Fund 1991-2016, 25 years in perspective. And the second one includes Towards a New India, Governance Transformed 2014-2019. Sri V.SRINIVAS has also had more than 45 awards, both international and national, to his credit. Sir is also a badminton champion at the state and the national level and has served as the captain for the teams that he has played. Truly, leadership personified through Sri V.SRINIVAS Sir. Sir, we are truly honored to have you with us today at this inaugural ceremony of the second batch of the Sri Sathya Sai National Leadership Program for Self-Transformation. Sir, on behalf of all of us, I would like to invite you to deliver the inaugural address. Sri V.SRINIVAS IAS. Jai Sai Ram.
Om Sri Sai Ram. Sri Nimish Pandyaji, Dr. Gopi Krishna, State President Sri Manoj Madhavanji, Academic Board members Sri Dr. Sai Prasanna and Sri Krishna Kumarji. I seek the divine blessings of Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba as I deliver this inaugural address today. I would like to thank the Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organizations India for inviting me to give a lecture at the Sri Sathya Sai National Leadership Program for Self-Transformation of Youth. In particular, I would like to thank Sri Nimish Pandyaji and Dr. Gopi Krishna for this opportunity on this auspicious occasion. The subject I wish to speak to you today is transformative leadership, and the objective is to inspire all participants to transform themselves as better individuals in the service of the nation in these challenging pandemic times. Spiritualism for individual transformation and character building is required. I would also like to place my talk in a modern organizational context where you need to plan both for cooperation and conflict, which are inevitable. Can we use conflicts constructively to promote integration as opposed to domination and compromise? There is a need to reject the process of giving orders which may not be obeyed. The law of the situation is important when orders are depersonalized. A leader has to bring in both functional and integrative unity by constructive use of differences and conflicts in organizations. To make a group cohesive, the need is to power with and not power over. I would also like to pitch this talk towards modernity, a life in a digital age where the world is a global village. I will refer to the institutional strengthening measures and the need for individual specific focus. There are three components of the 9 months National Leadership Program. The first is to build individual character, which is best characterized by two shlokas from the Niti Shastra. Krishito nasti durbhiksham, japato nasti patakam, maunena kalaho nasti jagarato bhayam. There is no fear of any adversity in case one is working hard, one is in prayer, one is silent, and one is not afraid in case you adopt adequate cautiousness. The second shloka that I wish to give you is Sekatam Panchahasteshu, Dasahasteshu Vajinam, Gajam Hasta Sahasreshu, Dushtam Durena Varjayet. Please stay away from evil. You stay 5 feet away from a ratha, 10 feet away from a horse, 100 feet away from an elephant, and far many more feet away from an evil person. Ethics and values are foundational values and should be adhered to all your life. As regards national character, let me cite a dialogue that I had with one of my senior colleagues, Dr. Dubur Subbarao. I asked him, how does 21st century governance differ from 20th century governance? And he said, there is really no difference. Commitment to the larger public good against all odds remains the overarching motto of life. India's constitutional values are deeply rooted in high moral tones with a universal dimension. Moral principles have to be lived in life. They have to be lived throughout if the Constitution of India is to succeed. How do you transform yourself? You respect parents, you love family, and you develop strong family bonds. Try to recite the Gayatri Mantra 10 times a day. Chanting gives tremendous inner strength and peace of mind. You live mindful and aware on the righteous path, a path that has tremendous transformative power, and listen to your subconscious self. You focus on a holistic approach, a sound body, sound mind, meditation, and yoga, all of which help immensely. You acquire the capacity to work with teams, take care of the needs of all workers, and complete dedication to well-being of the team. Let me share my personal experience with each one of you. My own childhood was in the rural areas of Andhra Pradesh. My father was an entomologist who worked in most remote parts of the state, and my mother is an advocate. The first 12 years of my life were spent in the villages of Dumugudem, Bhadrachalam, and Araku Valley. I went to a panchayat school in Bhadrachalam. I studied under the kerosene lamps and occasionally under Petromax lights, as there was no electricity in many of the tribal villages. The mighty Godavari flooded often, and I became a chronic malaria patient, which kept recurring annually for nearly 2 decades. I actually got to see a lot of wildlife in Araku Valley, and I have very fond memories of the journeys from Anantagiri to Araku Valley. My father's job as a chief entomologist gave me the opportunity to visit a number of primary health centers and community health centers, and I got familiar with India's healthcare systems. In 1977, my father was posted to Hyderabad from Araku Valley, and I became a specialized talent, a bright young badminton talent under the Catch Them Young program of the Andhra Pradesh government. I was selected to represent Andhra Pradesh badminton from 1980 to 1987, the All India Central Schools from 1981 to 83, the Osmania University from 1983 to 1989. Badminton took me to every part of India well before I joined the Indian Administrative Service. There is much to learn from competitive sport. An early to bed, early to rise lifestyle, competing fairly and honestly, and taking defeat with a spirit of sportsmanship. Pursuit of excellence for the national cause was a constant theme at our house. Nothing comes easy in life. Hours and hours of honest work are required to sustain India's democracy. There are simply no shortcuts to success. By 1989, I did my MTech in chemical engineering from College of Technology, Osmania University. I was also a junior national badminton champion of 1984 and an All India University's badminton champion in 1988. With these credentials, I was selected to the Indian Administrative Service in 1989 and was assigned the Rajasthan cadre and joined as an IAS probationer at Nagaur. And life in the Thar desert beckoned me for the next decade. Rural Rajasthan fascinated me. My motto as I joined the Indian Administrative Service was, I am ethical, I am accountable, I am the IAS. My father's first advice as I joined government was, never fudge a TA bill, never fudge a logbook. Thus begins a journey of honesty in government. In Rajasthan, I had to look up where Nagaur was on a map. It was connected by one train, which reached at 1 a.m. in the morning and left at 5:30 a.m. from the same place. I ate bajra ki roti along with gur, lived in a district headquarters which did not have electricity for 3 days in a week. It also had brackish water and a lot of fluorosis cases. I got to work with the poorest of poor in the desert villages of Rajasthan. The IAS, I noticed, always commanded considerable respect and trust from the people of India. When I look back on this journey of almost 3.5 decades, what I can say is that the Indian Administrative Service has exposed me to rural India as also urban India, like no other service does. I noticed that the IAS competency remains anchored in integrity, building credibility and trust in the institution of civil service. These are foundational and non-negotiable values. As I heard Sri Nimish Pandyaji mention about the character crisis, I would like to address this. Leadership and faith in fairness and impartiality simply cannot be outsourced. You can hire skills, but these traits on ethics and values cannot be outsourced. There were certain areas of governance I was particularly good with. I was fascinated by land reforms and improving justice delivery systems. In my tenures as the subdivisional officer, as district collector, and then subsequently as chairman board of revenue, I've made it a point to ensure to reach out to every litigant possible and to try and simplify his journey through revenue courts. I was fascinated by the work that was done by Acharya Vinoba Bhave, who walked several hundreds of kilometers for the Bhudan movement and set up the Gramdan villages of Rajasthan. I noticed and learned that good governance requires intense commitment, high levels of resilience to fight for the right cause, and abiding positive energy and enthusiasm. It also requires a capacity to work with large teams and leadership skills to steer institutions on the path of excellence. Leadership is also all about managing power in public good or public interest. It's about using power with others and not always over others. A leader has to prove by working with teams, managed by objectives, and through control over the situation. Charisma and hierarchy, which are the traditional basis of leadership, are not as maintainable today, and what matters is merit and expertise. Leading teams and institutions through new challenges and conflicts represents the benchmark for new standards of leadership. Determined and disciplined implementation of government policy, constant supervision, and honest work can benefit millions of India's population. I have witnessed India's institutions rising and falling with individuals. Over the next 9 months, I noticed that many areas of self-improvement are covered in your program. There are subjects of self-awareness, essentials of communication, goal setting, unleashing creativity, project management, introduction to Indian culture and spirituality, strategies for achievement in life, managing relationships, building trust and interpersonal skills, self-regulation and sustained hard work, enhancement of skills, stress management, change management, success planning, self-discovery tools, and lastly, how to be successful everywhere, every time. And each of these characters will be significantly enhancing your individual personalities. It's a digital age with Aadhaar numbers, technology platforms, and online services. The digital age requires many new skills to be acquired by individuals, handling big data, complexities in decision making, and comprehensive analytical skills. Yet, the focus on individual reforms is very important. As I have mentioned, as I served in the All India Institute of Medical Sciences from 2014 to 17, I recognized how important it was to simplify and monitor a patient's journey at a hospital. This compelled me to introduce what was called an online registration system, or the Digital AIMS project, which has been transformed on a national level, benefiting more than 31 lakh patients across India with online patient appointments. It has not only eased patient times, but also eased doctor times in terms of getting appointments, in terms of ensuring digital patient records, and also unique health identification numbers. I took the opportunity to follow up on a litigant's journey from my early years in service. I spent the first few months of my service in a small village called Sukhwasi in Nagaur district, a village that was visited by Acharya Vinoba Bhave as part of his Bhudan movement to understand how Bhudan has transformed the lives of people. And I found that in such villages, there was hardly any litigation. However, in the other villages, which were manifest by huge amounts of court cases, I tried to ease a litigant's journey in revenue courts by pursuing what was called a digital Rajaswa Mandal project, bringing in tremendous amount of information and transparency to court processes, and also ensuring that the justice delivery systems are delivered and are made functional across over 1,500 revenue courts well within the prescribed norms. And nothing can succeed unless litigants' journeys in courts are simplified in a democracy. A complainant's journey in grievance redressal. Today, I follow up more than 30 lakh grievances on an annual basis. In a period of the pandemic, we followed up nearly 1.7 lakh grievances and tried to ensure delivery was provided to them within 3 days' time. And what I realized throughout these three big personal experiences was reach out to people. The AIMS experience of reaching out to people, touching lives, it's important to reach out to people in distress. The experience of touching hundreds of citizens who filed grievances in a pandemic pertaining to evacuation, medicines, job losses, wage cuts, essential commodities, etc., has been quite transformational personally for me. And I noticed how empowering it can be when an individual's grievance is redressed on time. We also need to focus on creating a modern nation. India is one of the greatest civilizations in the world, a beacon of democracy where nation building is a bounded duty. We need to digitalize our institutions. As I mentioned, digital AIMS, digital Rajaswa Mandal, and in more recent times, a digital central secretariat using e-office. Never lose focus on cultural and civilizational ties. The Ramayana epic, I noticed, was extremely popular in Cambodia. India's Buddhist culture is popular in Vietnam and Japan. The festivals of India abroad, which I conducted as Joint Secretary Culture, right, were very popular in South Africa and Peru, bringing people together, exchanging ideas, exchanging common knowledge, and ensuring that unity of the individual in a global world. We also need to improve institutional cohesion by constant interactions and getting to know people. Studies and publications are important. What you have learned has to be documented. And I made this as a pursuit by writing 2 books. It is also important to ensure assessments are taken up on time so that you understand how services are being delivered. The third subject that I wish to speak on is also the focus on transforming self. As I said, learn the spirit of giving. This entire program is about learning the self of giving. There is tremendous power in giving. When you reach out to the poorest of the poor, to the downtrodden, to the weak, there is tremendous spiritual and moral strength that an individual acquires. There is tremendous resilience that is required for bringing change. And this brings forth creativity. Change is not easy to be brought about in large institutions. It can only be brought about when there is tremendous commitment, as also resilience to take people along. The capacity to address conflict and stress management. When you try to bring about change, there will always be conflict. There will be people who will oppose. There will be people who will say, okay, it has survived in the past, it will survive in the future also. And it is tremendous amount of stress as you create new institutions to build new systems of governance. to ensure that more and more people are brought under the purview of a beneficial as also improved systems of governance. We need to enhance communication skills. I noticed particularly that negotiations and interpersonal skills are extremely important for individuals, and individual transformation can happen when negotiation skills and interpersonal relations are placed on a sound footing. We also need to learn how to handle complex projects. Data management and decision making are no longer as simple as they were. There is big data that is available that has to be examined. Artificial intelligence has to be used to understand and bring new tools of governance. As the old saying goes, in God we trust, but everybody else brings data to the table. So decisions have to be made using big data. As I said, my own journey of 32 years in the IAS started from a panchayat school in Bhadrachalam. It has been a relentless pursuit of excellence through intense pursuit of knowledge, commitment to public service, institution building, nation building through self-discipline and regulation. Let me conclude by saying that today we live in an era of the knowledge economy characterized by knowledge workers and strong service sectors. In big organizations, there are too many top leadership positions. Whether in a public institution or a private institution, a leader cannot command respect without knowledge of that sector. Therefore, only knowledge can make leadership sustainable. Leadership has three new solid bases for legitimacy: legality, knowledge, and capacity to work through differences. With these words, let me wish each and every one of the participants a successful training program over the next 9 months and attain the highest potential that each one of you can. Once again, I thank Dr. Gopi Krishna and Sri Nimish Pandyaji for giving me this opportunity to speak on this divine occasion. Om Shri Sai Ram.
Thank you, Srinivas Garu, for those words of wisdom to our participants. Your views to make a group cohesive, especially the core needs to power well and not power over, is superb and brings in a lot of inclusiveness. Reaffirming the thoughts to follow the fundamental foundation values for life is very encouraging to all of us. You so beautifully brought out our motto of the organization, transforming self to transforming the world. It starts with respect to parents, bringing in spiritual elevation by chanting Gayatri Mantra. You said about following the righteous path in life, focusing on the mind, body, and soul to live a life of perfection. The aspect of bringing in togetherness in a team in times of joy and difficulties is a wonderful learning to all of us. Your personal journey and your motto, I am ethical, I am accountable, I am the IAS, is the right start for a good career, is a great direction to all our participants. Your personal experiences have added value to your talk, which showcases experiential learning. Your thoughts on how to focus on transforming self is commendable and noteworthy. Thank you is too small a word. We extend our loving gratitude to you and Swami for bringing you on board this inaugural session. Stay blessed, sir. We'll meet once again.